Okay, we're looking at another homework problem. Here's a video that's a really good video you need to watch, but I'm going to make another one here going over your level of measurements. If you look at your readings for this week, pull it out here. You have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And again, you can see here that nominal is categorical, as we talked about earlier about like your hair color and things like that. Ordinal is similar to nominal, but there's a difference between the data. It's ranked, but you cannot tell, you cannot measure the difference between the data. So it could be something like your pain level, 1 to 10. It could be that excellent, good, satisfactory, unsatisfactory. So again, it can be numbers, but the numbers, you cannot be a difference between them. You cannot calculate. Interval scale, the only one that I can think of that on interval that's a little different is temperature. So interval data, there's does not have a true zero in it. So a true zero means that is, if zero means it, if it's in there, then it's not there. It means an absence of something. Okay, so this is the data that we're most likely going to be talking about is ratio data. Okay, exams, scores, stuff like that. But the one that's a little tricky is the temperature one, and it's not considered ratio because of zero. Zero has to mean the absence of something. So notice that if it's 0 degrees outside, 0 degrees does not mean that there's no temperature outside. So temperature scales like Celsius and Fahrenheit are measured using the interval scale, and in both temperature measurements, 40 degrees is equal to 100 minus 60. So that makes, so the difference makes sense. The difference that makes sense in ordinal, but 0 degrees does not, because in both scales 0 is not the absolute lowest temperature. You can have negative 15 and negative 10. But again, more importantly, this book doesn't really point it out. Does the absence of temperature mean that it's 0? No, it can be 0 outside and you still have temperature. So I thought that one was just a little bit tricky, and I wanted to go over that one with you. So that video will be in here as well to watch. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Here is a video about what is the level of measurement. I was going to tell you in this study it's asking you about age and years. You're going to have, you won't have the same question more than likely. But here's a really good video. I'm going to put another one in there as well. So watch this one. And I want to direct you to the reading about the levels of measurement. You can accept all that. Okay, so notice that we have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And data that is nominal is characterized by data that consists of names and labels or categories only. And the data cannot be arranged in some kind of order, such as low to high. Okay. The ordinal scale is a little bit different. It is more that that can be arranged in some kind of order, but the difference obtained by subtraction between the data values cannot be determined or are meaningless. So these would something would be like if you were doing like a scale of 1 to 10 of pain, or other things. Let's see what order. Let's see, like excellent, good, satisfactory, unsatisfactory. So there's a level of order there, but subtraction doesn't make sense. And then you have the interval scale, and data that are in the interval level of measurement is if they can be arranged in order, and the differences between the data values can be found and are meaningful. But data at the interval level do not have a natural 0 starting point at which none of the quantity is present. So that's the part that's a little confusing. And there's usually the only thing that falls in this is an example of like temperature, for one thing. So like your lowest and highest temperatures recorded on the Earth, I think are, in one book it says like negative 129 Fahrenheit and 134 Fahrenheit. And those values are examples of data of the interval level of measurement, because their difference, is meaningful. Now we can determine the difference between any two, but there's no natural starting point. And this is where there's the zero. The 0 degrees does not mean that there's no temperature out there. You can have a 0 degree temperature reading, but that does not mean there is not any temperature, period. So that's the one that kind of gets a little tricky on you. Another one is years. For example, the year 0 is arbitrary. Either the way we use our yearly system, it's BC and AD. And, we do have the year 0, but does 0 is arbitrary instead of making it but if you were in 0 AD, that does not mean that there's no time there. So, and then the last one is your ratio, and that's the one that we're going to be using most often. Let's see, what's ratio here. So data that's ratio level of measurement. It can be arranged in order. Differences can be found and are meaningful, and there's a natural 0 starting point where 0 indicates that none of the quantity is present. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So if you got a 0 for something, that means there was no measurement for it. Okay, and for this data at this level, differences and ratios are both meaningful. So just wanted to point that out for you, and you'll have that in a video here. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.